Hello world! A hacker has tried to poison Florida's drinking water. The perpetrator broke into a water treatment facility and increased the amount of sodium hydroxide in the water supply by 100 times. Sodium hydroxide, by the way, is the main ingredient in drain cleaner. The vector of attack? TeamViewer, allegedly. That and more in today's video, where we explore tech news but with a cybersecurity focus. It all went down last Friday when an employee was sitting at his desk monitoring the Oldsmar water treatment plant in Florida when his cursor started moving by itself. The facility uses TeamViewer to troubleshoot problems remotely, so he thought nothing of it. Until later that day when the same thing happened again. This time though, the mouse autonomously went and increased the amount of sodium hydroxide in the water from 100 parts per million to 11,100 parts per million. That's more than a 100-fold increase. This chemical is often used in small amounts in order to properly regulate pH levels during water treatment. In high quantities though, it's extremely dangerous. After all, it is the main component in drain cleaners. Luckily though, the plant employee was sitting at his desk the entire time and managed to revert the chemicals levels back to normal immediately. If he hadn't noticed though, there would have been 24 to 36 hours before the water would have reached the taps of the nearby town. Luckily though, there are safeguards in place to check the safety of water before it reaches people, so officials say there was no chance this water would have actually made it into people's homes. It's not known who the attacker was, or the motive behind the attempted poisoning, but he must really hate Floridians, that's for sure. 15,000 people live in a nearby town which would have been affected by this. Reuters is reporting the hacker got in via TeamViewer, though whether this was a vulnerability in TeamViewer itself is quite unlikely. What's more probable is that the credentials were somehow leaked, that or an insecure password was set. There's been a lot of criticism leveled at the treatment plant, and rightly so. Firstly, OT systems like this, that's operational technology, which refers to monitoring and control of industrial equipment, should have no access to the internet at all, simply because industrial systems typically have mission-critical operations. Think nuclear power plant or water treatment facility. If these are hacked, the negative consequences have the potential to be pretty damn severe. In addition, industrial systems are quite likely to be using outdated technology, which is very likely to have known vulnerabilities. Anyhow, the treatment plant is now uninstalled TeamViewer, and an investigation is ongoing to figure out exactly who did this and why. In other news, German officials have seized $60 million in Bitcoin, but there's one problem: they don't know the password to the stash. It was confiscated from a guy convicted of installing malware on people's computers. This malware had a secret Bitcoin mining program built in. The whole idea is that you would infect as many computers as possible and allocate a fraction of the processing power of the computer to mining Bitcoin. The hope is that the computer's owner doesn't notice enough of a slowdown to think they have a problem. When a criminal has their parasitic program installed on thousands of computers, that computing power really adds up. In this case, the unnamed guy accumulated a total of 1,700 Bitcoin, roughly $60 million. But like I say, he's refusing to give police the password to the fortune. German officials assert that whilst they don't know the password, they've made sure the perp can't access the stash either. Though many Bitcoin wallets operate on a model of seed phrases, meaning that all you need to regenerate your Bitcoin private key is an array of 24 words. So I don't know how the police can be sure that this guy hasn't just got his seed phrase written down somewhere, or that he hasn't just memorized the words. After all, the guy has since served his sentence and has now been released. Though of course, given the Bitcoin blockchain is completely public, authorities will most definitely notice if those coins start moving. Though of course, this doesn't stop him from moving to some despotic country, cashing out his treasure trove and just bribing his way out of extradition. I don't know, just an idea. Moving on, the ransomware group PhoenixCryptor has come out with a bit of a surprising announcement. PhoenixCryptor is a ransomware service. You know how the story goes. You download some malware, your files are encrypted, you either pay the Bitcoin ransom or face the prospect of your files being lost forever. PhoenixCryptor has been around for 8 months, but it's not quite clear how many computers have been infected with this particular ransomware, though for sure nowhere near the levels of more infamous ransomware like WannaCry. However, PhoenixCryptor is described as being quite aggressive, as upon infection it encrypts absolutely everything other than system files. But this is where the PhoenixCryptor story takes a twist. The cabal of crypto criminals behind it have announced via Twitter that they are disbanding and moving on. They've even released a free tool for recovering files encrypted with their ransomware for anyone still struggling with a lingering infection. The group also tweeted an apology, stating that the only reason they started the project was because of economic hardship, that they're glad they can sleep better now knowing that no one will have to face the prospect of their files being encrypted with their creation. This isn't the first time a ransomware group has made a bit of a U-turn. A couple of years ago, a Syrian father tweeted that his drive had been encrypted with the Grand Crab ransomware. Both of his sons had been killed in the war, and all of his photos of them had been placed under lock and key. The tweet gained some traction, which prompted the Grand Crab dev team to release the decryption keys to all of their Syrian victims. However, the group was very clear in that this was an exception. I'm not entirely sure what to make of Phonics Crypt's disbanding and their apology. Have they actually, I don't know, found Jesus? Or what is more likely is that they've had to move on anyway and are just using the opportunity as a PR stunt. I would guess perhaps they feel as though people are less likely to go after them if they have no remaining victims, which I suppose there is some logic to. We'll probably never know. But one thing we do know is that Maltronics, a company I own and run, sells an array of super cool pen testing products. You can learn more via the link in the description and get 10% off with code SATANIC. Next up, Nespresso coffee machines have been hacked to provide unlimited coffee. A Belgian researcher found a flaw in the NFC cards some Nespresso coffee machines use for payment. It turns out that the balance on the card was stored on the card itself rather than on a secure server. Now, if that doesn't sound bad enough, the cards used an insecure NFC smart chip known as the MIFARE Classic. These cards use a pretty poor 48-bit proprietary encryption cipher, which was first hacked way back in 2008. Back then, it drew a lot of attention from the media because this type of card was used for public transport in the Netherlands at the time. The researcher found that the card's balance was stored in a 3-byte integer. With a bit of tweaking, he could top up a card to a maximum of 167,000 euros. That's a lot of coffee. Nespresso have been informed and are reportedly going to be making changes, though I wouldn't bother. I'd stick to my mocha pot even if Nespresso was free. Now for a little segment I like to call Mildly Interesting Things I Found on the Internet This Week, or MitiFoti for short. Imagine an AI could make memes. Well, now you don't have to, because this site does just that. The memes are generated by a deep artificial neural network. The idea is that the image itself is hard-coded. All you need to do is select a template and a new meme will be generated. It should go without saying that the memes aren't all that dank. You're lucky if you find one that makes sense, to be honest. The AI seems to work better with some templates rather than others. It would seem some memes are just way too advanced for even an AI to work with. The AI does have some sense of humour though. It generated this meme. I don't always send memes, but when I do it to them, implying that the memes it makes are fire, when they're really not. Good meme, I laughed the first time I saw it, but after rewriting the script 5 times I can't really generate much of a chuckle, but I hope you appreciate it nonetheless. And lastly, this exists. It is a laptop, but on steroids. Described as a proper mobile security operations center, it has 7 screens and weighs 10 kilograms. It rocks an 8-core 9900K and has 64 gigs of RAM. It will last between half an hour and an hour on battery, so it's probably best described as having a built-in UPS backup system rather than a battery. Its target market is stock traders and on-site security operations. The beast is still in the development stage, however you can buy one of their prototypes. The sale price isn't public, though I wouldn't expect to pick one up for less than 5k. If you liked this video and want to see more like it, make sure to smash the like button for the YouTube AI and turn on sub notifications. I will be back in a few days with a new video, so make sure to subscribe and I'll see you then. As always, sources will be linked below. Stay tuned for more hacking videos and have a good one.